My name is Bilal, and I am a man of little means, but great dreams, or so I once believed. In the dusty alleys of my village, where the sun scorches the earth and the wind carries whispers of forgotten tales, I lived a life of quiet struggle. My story, though, is not just mine. It is entwined with hers, a Jinn girl whose presence shook the foundations of my faith, my desires, and my understanding of Allah's boundless mercy. Through her, I learned of Prophet Nuh, peace be upon him, whose life became a lantern to guide me through my own flood of doubts and temptations. I was born in a village cradled by rugged hills, where the soil yielded more thorns than crops. My father was a potter, his hands cracked like the clay he shaped into humble bowls and jars. My mother, a woman of fierce faith, wove baskets from palm fronds, her fingers dancing with a grace that belied our poverty. They taught me to pray, to trust in Allah's provision, to find contentment in the simplicity of our days. But poverty is a heavy cloak, and as I grew, its weight pressed harder. By my 20th year, I was a laborer, hauling stones for a merchant's new home, my back bent under the sun, my dreams of a better life fading like the stars at dawn. The dilemma that haunted me was not just poverty, but the bitterness it bred. Each night as I knelt in prayer, my heart wavered. Why did Allah withhold ease from us? Why did my neighbors feast while my mother rationed our bread? I wanted to trust His plan, to embody the patience of the prophets I'd heard about in the masjid, but my nafs whispered rebellion. I began to envy, to covet, to wonder if faith alone could fill an empty stomach. Worse, I felt a growing urge to take what wasn't mine, a merchant's coin, a loaf left unattended. The thought shamed me, but it lingered, a shadow I couldn't shake. One evening, as I walked home through the hills, the air thick with the scent of wild thyme, I stumbled upon a cave hidden behind a curtain of vines. Curiosity, or perhaps desperation, drew me inside. The darkness was cool, the silence heavy, broken only by the drip of unseen water. At the cave's heart, I found a small brass lamp, its surface etched with strange symbols. My hands, rough from labor, trembled as I touched it. A wisp of smoke curled upward, and before me stood her, a girl, or so she seemed, with eyes like embers and a presence that made the air hum. "I am Zaina," she said, her voice a melody of wind and fire. "A Jinn, bound to this lamp, and now to you." Her form shimmered, neither fully human nor wholly other, her hair flowing like a river of shadow. She offered me 3 wishes, her gaze piercing, as if she could see the war within me. My heart raced. Wealth, power, ease, these were within reach. But something in her eyes, a flicker of sorrow, stayed my tongue. I asked instead for time to think, and she nodded, vanishing into the lamp with a promise to return. That night I lay awake, the lamp beside me, its weight heavier than stone. My desires clashed with my values. With one wish, I could lift my family from poverty, give my mother the rest she deserved. Yet, the stories of Jinn I'd heard as a child echoed in my mind, tales of trickery, of wishes twisted into curses. And what of my faith? To rely on a Jinn felt like turning from Allah, like doubting His provision. But to refuse her offer felt like condemning my family to endless hardship. The tension tore at me, each choice a betrayal of something sacred. In my turmoil, I sought guidance in the story of Prophet Nuh, peace be upon him, whose life I'd learned from the village imam. Nuh was a man of steadfast faith, called to warn his people against idolatry and sin. I imagined him standing in the markets of his time, the air heavy with dust and defiance, his voice rising above the clamor to proclaim Allah's oneness. His people mocked him, their laughter sharp as thorns, yet he endured year after year, his heart anchored in trust. When Allah commanded him to build an ark in a land untouched by rain, Nuh obeyed, his hands shaping wood under a merciless sun, his faith unyielding even as doubt swirled around him. Nuh's story mirrored my own struggle. Like him, I faced a choice, to trust Allah's path or to seek a shortcut through Zaina's power. Her offer was a flood of its own, tempting me to drown in my desires. I saw Nuh's patience, his refusal to waver, and I wondered, could I find such strength? Could I resist the lure of ease, believing that Allah's mercy would suffice? The turning point came on the 3rd night, when Zaina Ma appeared again, her form glowing in the moonlight that spilled through my window. "Have you chosen, Bilal?" she asked, her voice softer now, almost human. I studied her, noticing the weariness in her eyes, the weight of centuries spent bound to the lamp. Why do you serve this lamp? I asked, surprising myself. What binds a Jinn like you? Her gaze faltered, and for the first time she seemed vulnerable. I rebelled once, she said, her words heavy with regret. Long ago, I defied my creator, seeking power beyond my place. This lamp is my punishment, my servitude until I learn humility. Her confession struck me like a thunderbolt. Zaina, with all her power, was a prisoner of her own choices, her heart yearning for redemption. In her, I saw my own rebellion, the envy, the doubt, the temptation to take what Allah hadn't given. We were both prisoners of our choices, yet in this moment, I felt a kinship with her, a shared hope for redemption. Zaina, I said, my voice steady despite the storm within, I wish for your freedom. Her eyes widened, embers flaring. You would waste a wish on me? She whispered. Not a waste, I replied. Your freedom is my trust in Allah's mercy, for you, for me, for my family. I felt the words as I spoke them, a release of the bitterness I'd carried. By choosing her redemption over my gain, I was choosing faith over fear, patience over haste. The lamp trembled, its symbols glowing, and Zaina's form dissolved into light. You've given me more than freedom, she said, her voice fading. You've reminded me of his mercy. The lamp crumbled to dust and she was gone. I stood alone, the night silent, my heart lighter than it had been in years. The flood No faced was a trial of water and wrath, but it carried him to salvation. My flood was quieter, a surge of desire and doubt, but it too led me to clarity. I returned to my labor, my hands still rough, my mother's table still sparse, but the bitterness was gone, replaced by a quiet trust. I worked harder, saved what I could, and began to teach the village children to read, sharing the stories of the prophets that had saved me. Each act was a plank in my own arc, a step toward Allah's mercy. Now as I sit beneath the stars, the hills whispering their ancient secrets, I reflect on Zaina and Nuh, on the floods we all face. Poverty remains, but it no longer defines me. My faith, once fragile, has grown roots, nourished by the certainty that Allah's plan is greater than my wants. I pray for Zaina wherever she is, hoping she too has found peace. And I pray for myself, for the strength to endure, to build, to trust. In the end, it is not the wishes we grasp, but the mercy we seek that carries us through the storm.